Good evening. This is Doc Severson for the Theo Night Report for Thursday, August 24th. Starting tonight with a Nasdaq futures contract, the NQ, what we've got here is we've got a tremendous amount of consolidation. Now you can see how the market is actually, in this consolidation, it's actually gone from being very quiet to a lot more volatile, and that really peaked here on the 10th of August as really a lot of energy came into the market. And it's much like throwing a pebble into a quiet pond in the middle. You're going to see ripples going back and forth on that pond for quite some time. This is exactly what happened with that initial energy coming into the market. And then again on the 17th as well too. So we're going to see up and down, up and down. Now what this does, this non-linear action like this non-trending action, has the same effect as coiling up a big spring, tighter and tighter and tighter until this thing just can't take it anymore as it gets into the apex of this consolidation pattern and then finally breaks out. Now, which way is it going to go? Of course, we don't know that right now. So what we have to do is basically kind of box this in with some trend lines and watch for this range to break. So we not only have energy on the weekly chart as well as the daily chart. And so right now, what we've got is a market that's kind of like paused, waiting at the starting gate, looking for some type of catalyst to get it pushed in one way or the other. Obviously, with starting tonight, we have the Jackson Hole Central Bank Conference. So that's Jackson Hole, Wyoming. If you go back 7 years ago today, there was a very, very famous one of these. As we went, and it's, if you can look at this, it's right around here. So you can see right around here in 2010. There we go. It's right around this area right there. You can see that we had a little bit. Now this seems like nothing in the rearview mirror, but of course this was the flash crash back here in May of 2010. All of this, and then out of that kind of volatile negative summer, all of a sudden the market took off after Jackson Hole as Bernanke came up to the microphone and said, really for the first time, excuse me, but we're actually going to start printing money and throwing it into the market. Hello. And then so what we saw based on that was, you can see that the S&P jumped here. Well, in this case, this is the Nasdaq, jumped from 1772 up to about 2350 or so. Huge move on the Nasdaq, and every other market had a similar bump after that. So that's 7 years ago. Is Janet Yellen going to step up to the microphone and say something that's going to goose the market? I don't know. I very much doubt it at this point, because really the risk is to the downside, right? How fast are they going to unwind all of this quantitative easing from the various global markets? And because of this, we have the former leaders of the entire free market out there kind of consolidating or pulling back. Here's Amazon, which right now is going through the uncertainty of bonding itself with Whole Foods. We have Facebook, which is in a nice little flag pattern. That's about as pretty as they get right now. Ton of energy right now waiting to break from Facebook. Again, waiting on that. And of course, we have Apple, who is counting down the days until their big announcement. I wonder if that move is going to be a fade. Actually, a lot of energy with the exception of the monthly chart, which is just completely buried. So any upside reaction to me is going to be very, very muted. Any downside reaction actually will kind of clear the way for future gains. It's funny how things work that way. Sometimes it's better to take one step back if you want to take 2 steps forward. If Apple does break higher from here, I think that those gains will be very short-lived. Now here's Microsoft as well. Microsoft is in another flag pattern sitting up here. Microsoft has been going from one flag pattern to another. This has been breaking out exactly just like stair-stepping higher really since the election. This has been a very consistent run for this. And actually, by doing this in this manner, it doesn't really take a whole lot of energy out of the longer time frame charts. Although, just like everybody else, Microsoft is also sitting there at a huge exhaustion level at the monthly chart. This is an unsustainable chart. All charts right now that we're looking at basically could benefit in a big wave by a little pullback. The question is, will anything allow this market to pull back, or is the underlying bid so strong with a market awash in liquidity out there as to prevent that? And maybe instead what we would see is just an extended kind of sideways melt, similar to what we saw about this time a year ago in the full S&Ps, right? So this whole just kind of sideways drift back down may be something that we end up seeing here relatively soon. Again, market's looking for a catalyst. Right now, any upside catalyst, I do believe, is not going to be able to go for very far. Any downside catalyst, which knifes through the underlying bid, could actually end up dropping us down maybe as much as 5 to 10%. So here's the thought I'm going to end with tonight. The next week or so here, as we get into the end of August, these are supposed to be the dog days of August. These are supposed to be very low volatility days, right? Everybody's at the Hamptons. You've heard all the cliches. I don't believe it's going to be like that. I believe we will see movement, and a lot of it, even though it may be low volume, we may see a lot of volatility over the next week, and I honestly will welcome it. Everybody have a great night. We will see you guys tomorrow.